I've talked about my relatives before. In my family, on both sides of the family, there is a generational curse. The American class system is purposely created in a way that it basically mystifies real class politics, which is working class versus capital ownership. Here, the American class system is bizarre because nobody calls themselves upper class. Like you can make 500K a year with a net worth of 5 million and you still call yourself upper middle class. I'm sure people will come to inform me that this is in fact upper middle class. It's gauche to admit being wealthy, so a lot of American kids have to basically be privately informed by their parents that they're rich and instructed to refer to themselves as upper middle class. Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. I've never made it a secret that I come from like very affluent beginnings, right? And people regularly, and obviously I was not as financially fortunate for all of my life. There were definitely massive gaps of struggle. Having said that, however, people will routinely turn around and be like, dude, shut the fuck up, trust fund kid. It's like, it's not true. I never had a trust fund. But my parents were, my father specifically, was very wealthy when I was growing up. Lost all of it by the time I got to college, but still, it's something that informs me, and it's something that I use all the time when the likes of Ben Shapiro lie about how wealth works. One thing that Ben always says is like, well, actually, only 10% of people actually get like money from their parents when their parents die. That's not how wealth works, dumbass. That's not how wealth works at all. And he's just lying to the American population to make it seem like the wealthy only give their wealth down or pass their wealth down a generation when they pass away. That's not how that works. That's not how that shit works at all. As someone who, once again, got a tremendous amount of advantages as a consequence of an affluent beginning, I saw the many benefits of it. I saw both sides of this situation. I also was not able to take advantage of my dad's network, right, in Turkey because I chose to come to America on my own. So because of that reason, I got to see both sides of this conversation. And the reality is that it doesn't matter. The affluent beginnings if you come from like a wealthy family, you do get a shit ton of benefits, shit ton of unimaginable benefits, invisible benefits. Okay. And those benefits continue even if your parents don't hand you like $1 million. Okay. That's not how that works at all. The benefits are, for example, not having to worry about finances, not having to work a job, being able to focus on your passions, your hobbies on top of your schoolwork. These are all massively important things that play a profound role in the upper hand that you get over people who don't have those privileges. Something that I have talked about quite a bit. Then there's also connections. The school that you are able to get into, the best schools that you are able to get into, and the networks that you can develop when you get into those schools. The cultural capital of being wealthy when you're young doesn't go away. That's something you use every single day when interfacing in society. Yes, I don't even disagree with this. This is something that I talk about when I talk about my own personal privilege. Obviously, going to Rutgers University, I mean, me going to Rutgers alone is like a great example of like how that privilege goes away when you switch continents a little bit. But it doesn't really matter because I still have that foundation. I still had that foundation, so it helped a lot. Rutgers, the Harvard of New Jersey. Brother, Princeton is in New Jersey. That's a ridiculous thing to state. Like, Rutgers is not even the fucking Harvard of New Jersey, okay? Yeah, Rutgers is barely the Rutgers of New Jersey. Didn't you get a perfect score in your SATs? No, I got a perfect score in my math. That's it. But as someone from an affluent family, you have a lot of pressure put on you, though? No. The fuck are you talking about? What's wrong with having a trust fund isn't planting trees that you will never be able to see a good thing. Trust fund is just a statement that people are using to say that you are rich and you are privileged and you will never know the value of a dollar. You will never actually make your own money. That's it. That's what they're saying, that you're privileged and everything was handed to you. And to be fair, a lot was handed to me, as I've mentioned. The point is, it's much better to be a trust fund baby than not have a trust fund at all. I am saying this as someone who did not have a trust fund, but was still pretty affluent in his beginnings. Affluent for Turkey. I would never trust a baby with funds. So, would you say that you're rather more affluent, larger family has an elitist tendency that happens sometimes with affluent relatives? I feel like a black sheep being the socialism fam. Not really. I don't think so. What did you do to become wealthy? Big dog, you and hundreds of thousands of other individuals like you over the course of the past 5 years. Like, you're a 26-month subscriber. What do you think? I met father. Oh, he was a coordinator in a massive Turkish holding group. one of the largest. Straight businessman. Speaking of Rutgers, do you remember Annabelle from Econ 102? Yep, she had a son. Your son. Hello, Dad. It's time you knew the truth. You so stupid. I've talked about my relatives before. In my family, on both sides of the family, there is a generational curse where they make a shit ton of money and they live awesome lives, and then they lose all their money by the time their next of kin comes of age or goes to college. Well, I guess it was different for my dad because my grandfather on my father's side lucked into being a lawyer for an incredibly high profile case that literally was paid off with like a shit ton of real estate in a city like Istanbul. So he just basically after that was like, I'm done. I'm retiring. That's exactly what he did. He got a shit ton of real estate in Istanbul, an incredibly expensive real estate market, and literally just spent it all. Not by the time that my father had gone to college. I think they still had a lot of money family wise, but you know, it was never a like he didn't actually do anything with the real estate. He just basically sold it off and then spent the money. Yeah, fumbled the bag big time. Like he got all this real estate, sold it, and then just he had so much money that he just YOLO'd it. And it kept him afloat for all of his life. And he lived long too. That's who I'm named after, Hasan. Hasan did that. I wouldn't even say that it was a bag fumble really, because I think I remember my dad talking to him like near his death, and he was very proud of it. He was like, I don't give a f. I traveled the world and I spent it all on your grandmother. And it was, he's like, I don't even feel an ounce of regret. The f am I going to do with the money? So he was living La Vida Loca. My grandfather on my mother's side also got into real estate, came to America, engineer, got into real estate, made a shit ton of money, lost it all in 2008, but not even to like the housing market crash. I think he got scammed. So he f***ed up on that front, literally lost everything. And then my dad was, he worked for a corporation his whole life, also made a shit ton of money. Haas is so transparent. I worry for his continued safety because I'm too parasocialist. I've talked about a lot of this stuff. I mean, this is not a secret. I've talked about every single thing that I've mentioned. I know that like every couple of months, people will basically relitigate some of this shit and act like it's a gotcha. But yeah, I take care of my parents now. But he lost it all futures trading. My dad did by the time I got to college. So I've talked about the generational curse. I didn't know your dad died. Wait, what? My grandfather, man. I'm talking about my granddad. How am I going to lose all my money? That right there. How'd your dad lose all of his money? I already explained it. Futures trading. Oh my God, dude. This guy's really invested. I just explained it. It's basically, it's gambling. I actually got a hater who said your dad's a Turkish billionaire to shut up by pointing out you studied in Rutgers. It was pretty funny. Yeah, dude. But you don't understand. You don't get it. It's a secret. My dad actually wanted to hide how wealthy we are. That's why I went to Rutgers, because he knew inevitably that I would become a famous socialist political commentator. That was in the cards for him. So we just, it's always been a secret. Parents communists? No, dude. What the? How many of you have parents with identical politics? What the? That's so funny. I don't know a single person whose parents have like the same politics as them. If my uncle can convert my grandma into Mormonism, I can convert my parents into communists. No, you can't. Especially if they're like small business owners. That's crazy to think that you could do that. I mean, good luck. Can you tell us what was the turning point that drew you into socialism was the biggest motivator? Healthcare. 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 America's healthcare system radicalized me 100%. Like I personally always was anti-imperialist, which is weird because many socialists never even make that jump. But given that I grew up in Turkey, I had a very severe distaste for American imperialism already. So I was already on that side of the equation from the jump. And I guess in some respects, I understood the importance of socialized medicine as well. Also growing up in Turkey. I mean, it wasn't as good as like the private version of it in Turkey, but still, at least it existed. So coming to the United States of America, I guess the leap came from healthcare. Came to the US and we're like, damn, y'all live like this? Yes. Ambulance costs, dude. I think that might be the most pivotal. I think ambulance costs might quite literally be the most significant factor in my radicalization. I mean, I always had social democratic leanings, so I guess I was already there. Growing up, seeing the glaring income inequality and the wealth disparity when my parents took me out of private school and put me in public school. When I went to school with the person who was my gardener's son, also made me first recognize that was probably my first radicalizing factor. I was very young too, and I just did not understand why. Like, I literally didn't understand why some people simply were living in the conditions that they were living in and the dire conditions that they were living in. My gardener, in air quotes. Yeah, I'm not explaining this stuff to you so that you can, like, try to throw this back in my face. Not that it matters. These are things that I have no control over in my life. What I do have control over, however, is how I analyze that information, how I internalize it, and how I become a better person. We are all products of our experiences, a collection of our experiences. I've never made it a secret that my beginnings were affluent. It's very stupid to try and, like, win an argument here. Or would you rather have me lie to you? Been 2 years since that child of gardener story realization. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about that before too. Everything that I have explained to you over the past hour, I've talked about before on the stream. Every now and then there will be a new cycle of hatred, and people will basically reintroduce the subject into the cycle of discourse to be like, look at this piece of shit leaked